Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Great Waluigi607 and welcome to my FNAF Timeline. To be honest, I was going to do a theory as well, but my threadbare theory, it took too long to try and explain because I literally lost myself throughout talking about it, about how Golden Freddy and Fredbear, how Golden Freddy was made in the form of made to look like Freddy with Fredbear's colours of yellow, and Fredbear was still in FNAF 4 location in Fredbear's diner while Golden Freddy was moved off, kind of thing. So basically like Fredbear was never really Golden Freddy at all, kind of thing. Yeah, but since that went to shame, I'm gonna start off the time my version of the timeline with the 50s and 60s, because most of these are just from the FNAF, from Dorko's 24-hour charity stream that he did in October, and some of these might not actually be canonical, but this is how I've seen it. So basically, like, starting off with the wonderful Fredbear's singing show, where I feel like Fredbear would have been like a person. Someone was called something Fredbear, and then they had like a mascot called Freddy. Because this is basically Freddy in black and white. Because if it was Fredbear, it would have been the same colour as the gramophone. It'd be like golden fur colour, like the gramophone's yellow. But it isn't. For this, I had it where Fredbear's singing show basically sparked the idea for Henry and William to create their own pizza location establishment, and then that's what led to like the 70s and 80s, when colour was brought in, when coloured screens and all that started up, and then they made Fredbear's Family Diner. And they made Fredbear and Spring Bonnie to perform on the stage, which I used stage 01 as the representation of them. Basically, like during their opening days, the very first time they opened up. And they brought in about Glitch Trap at this point as well, about 1981, 1982, just before Freddy's. The first ever Spring Bonnie suit was basically Glitch Trap was the first Spring Bonnie suit that was made. He was like a prototype of what Spring Bonnie would become. Because Glitch Trap would have been based on the Fredbear singing show version of Freddy, as I would see it. It's like Spring Bonnie here has purple eyes, like Glitch Trap, and like the only time we had Spring Bonnie was FNAF. A full iteration of Spring Bonnie was FNAF World, and Spring Bonnie had green eyes. So I basically believe that this is basically the prototype of what Spring Bonnie, that would lead into Spring Bonnie's design. So Glitch Trap would be like one of the prototypes, with this one being another prototype or something like that. Because this one has because Spring Bonnie does not have a vest. Whereas like the original suits would have, kind of thing, to make it simpler. And since you see Lonely Freddy here, it moves on to Fredbear and Friends, 1983, where Fazbear's opens, and the whole Fredbear and Friends show is aired on TV due to the popularity, and then they gain merchandises such as plushies and all that. I imagine that Lonely Freddy would fit into this era of the place, because it's basically before. It's going to be like before Into the Pit and all that lot. Because Lonely Freddy has it where Fazbear's is open. You literally are in the Freddy Fazbear establishment at this point. Because I think like the Step Closer story would happen in FNAF 1. Because Foxy would be out of order and not a lot. That's why I put a little note here saying that Lonely Freddy exists here. I've had the carousel as it makes more sense because I see Fazbear's back in 1983 being the FNAF 1 location with the Unwithereds. Hence why there's a carousel that you could hear. That's how I'd believe it. Yeah, Foxy would be like withering away through time. And then with 1983 being the big one, also having Circus Baby's Pizza World opening after Freddy's closed due to the missing children's incident, with Susie being the first one to be taken out by William, who uses Spring Bonnie. He uses like a spare Spring Bonnie suit. Because Glitch Trap Glitch Trap was placed away and then he used. And while one Spring Bonnie was performing on stage, he's got like the spare. Imagine this is the Spring Bonnie. The Spring Bonnie that performs next to Fredbear during the mischievous incident would become Scrap Trap. It basically, I see that making sense because it helps basically inform that there have been two Spring Bonnie suits that were around as well to help. Just like in the FNAF 4 where the secret Easter egg where you go towards the stage area at the back, you see William helping a guy put a Spring Bonnie suit on. I would imagine that suit is either this Spring Bonnie, either Spring Trap Spring Bonnie or Scrap Trap Spring Bonnie. And then after all the Fazbears, Circus Baby ends up taking the life of Elizabeth, and it causes the Pizza World, Circus Baby Pizza World to close. And a little note thing is, I've added this based on Matt Pat's FNAF Timeline where Balloon Boy, JJ, and Dee Dee exist within Circus Baby's Pizza World's clown theme. That would make sense. It makes sense because Nightmare Balloon Boy being canon. Although JJ and Dee Dee haven't been seen by Evan yet, he already knows like of Circus Baby and Balloon Boy, because he would have most likely witnessed his sister getting clawed, being clawed by Circus Baby. He went to Fazbear's, had a carousel be his favourite. He saw Balloon Boy, and then after all that, FNAF 4 basically plays out. Mini games as well, where Evan Afton, the crying child, basically begins to have nightmares of these animatronics because of what he has seen, because of what he saw and all that, the missing. I feel like he would have seen the missing children's incident. He saw his sister get killed by Circus Baby, and so he has become frightened of these animatronics. And when I feel like he saw Golden Freddy in the Fazbears, which he would have thought was Fredbear. So hence why he saw Nightmare Fredbear and not actual Fredbear, because he thought Fredbear was at Freddy Fazbear's kind of thing, which I say makes the most sense. Why, of my theory where Fredbear and Golden Freddy are not the same. It's just Evan saw Golden Freddy as Fredbear due to their matching colours of fur. It's just a hat and tie swap, which basically helps to make with Golden Freddy become more unique compared to how people would assume Fredbear is Golden Freddy's unwithered form. Although I used to believe it, but years go by and when you start looking at all these and it makes sense. Yeah, prank gone wrong. The Bite 83 happens, and Michael. And for me, I said like Michael feels this huge regret after all this. He regrets doing this to his brother, and William is now feeling the grief over the loss of Evan and Elizabeth. Because I don't see him using the remnant thing. Like, the loss of his own kids made his urge to, I feel like he has done the killings already before, the missing children and all that. A bit I apologize for my stupid way of speaking. I I literally do struggle when it comes to like explaining things like this and all that. Yeah, like missing children happens, William's done it and all that. Yeah, Bite 83 happened. And after Fredbear, after that incident, this is when I bring in that Dreadbear and all that. Because the whole FNAF VR works, where like FNAF ones works, where they use like the little code, little what's it things, where they scan the animatronic thing and just import the animatronics into this virtual reality. I forgot what it's called. Yeah, Fredbear is taken out of service and was deemed scrap. This is because I've theorized like it could be scrapped, it could have been just placed into the storage for Fredbears. Hence why we've got actual Freddy Fazbear being the icon for Fredbears at this point still in 1983, while Fredbear is nowhere to be seen. Which is like why I say, however, Freddy and Co were brought back into service until year's end after 1983, when Fredbear's closes, and during that time, the Fall Fest of '83 ends up being a thing, was formed into play, and Dreadbear was created by Fazbear Entertainment to basically. He was basically made for the occasion and all that. And when Fall Fest of '83 went by, but with lack of popularity, Dreadbear was taken out of service and just stored away alongside Fredbear. How else do you think Dreadbear would have actually came into existence to Curse of Dreadbear DLC? Because most of these animatronics wouldn't actually be in the game if they never even existed. How would they got the chip things that you can scan the VR testers scan and implement into the game? Unless they existed, kind of thing. Because Spring Bonnie was stored away as well until about 1983 to 1987 era, where we start getting into the FNAF 2 stage of things. Because Fazbear Entertainment makes the FNAF 2 location. The FNAF 1, the Unwithers were used for that location, because it was more spacious. They built a Henry makes the puppet to watch over his daughter, and while on one unfaithful day, on one tragic day, his daughter ends up being murdered by William after some kids blocked the puppet's music, covered the music box up, preventing the puppet from going to her. This is what I call red flag as well. It's like the kids just stared at her just outside, saw her just outside in the rain looking sad. They just look like they just and then they just turn around and walk away as if nothing happened. As if they were just laughing at tormented her. I feel like they're mostly responsible for Emily, for her death. Like they basically pulled a FNAF 4 pulled a bite of 83 on her, but instead of Springlock bite, who was being killed by William. Yeah, William murders Charlie outside, and she was in the way around near the kind of alley or something like that, next to some of the trash bins or rubbish bins, whatever your preference is. And the puppet breaks through from its box and starts to take a huge beating as it shambles its way over to Charlie, and then her soul possesses the puppet. And when it was repaired, and the music box was given its own little prize corner. During the night, William was shooed away from. I feel like late at night thing is basically later that night after more murders happened in 1987 era, which makes it more logical. Where William would get shooed away because like they'll make it any harder than it looks, because he's really like a prime suspect of the murders. So like after Charlie became a puppet, he would return and kill some more kids by using Spring Bonnie from the Into the Pit. Spring Bonnie would be used. Here, the events of Into the Pits, 1985 It section. Mangle would be possessed by Susie's dog, or possessed by a child or something, I don't know. Because Mangle, Freddy, Golden Freddy, and the puppet are the only 4 out of all the animatronics in FNAF 2 that seem to have life within them. So that the puppet gave life to Freddy. Mangle gained life alongside Golden Freddy. Because Charlie would possess Golden Freddy. Evan probably possesses Golden Freddy as well, but it's a long shot. Because Michael's security logbook basically has the 2 talking. A lot and changing some of the things in the book. So that'd be like Evan possesses Fredbear, Cassidy possesses Golden Freddy, Fredbear's somewhere still waiting to be. I feel like Golden Freddy and Fredbear both will show up in one way or another. Since Golden Freddy was never found at all with it after FNAF 3, Golden Freddy was just left in the shambled state. Fredbear was either scrapped or something, no one knows. Yeah. Puppet gives life to the rest of the animatronics. The Bio of 87 happens. And all that. Bestie William gets away with. I will include like Jeremy Fitzgerald and Fritz Smith into this whole thing, but I was running out of space because I've added security breach at the bottom. Because after like 1987s and all, you got the 1990s with FNAF 1, along with the creation of Fetch. I imagine Fetch would be here in the timeline, because since it's the original FNAF 1 location, I imagine like when the classics were made, Fetch the dog was made, hence the Sparky hoax thing as well. Because my canonical universe is Sparky exists. Although this is the FNAF timeline, so Sparky isn't here, so it's just Fetch that. So Fetch is just somewhere within the pizzeria. Yeah, the originals went back to their location where they were redesigned and all that. With Foxy being put out of service, with Step Closer being placed in this time period, where Foxy is in the back room being sorted out. The Be a Pirate losing Iron Arm happens, and then Foxy basically is put back behind curtains. I think the event with Chica in the Fast and Fright book, in the same book, basically happens. I'd basically say that happens during the 1983-1987 era. because that basically makes sense of as to why Chica is stalking her, kind of thing. Because the puppet's trying to give her luck, trying to help Susie come back to life as Chica, and then and Chica is representing the puppet. Who's trying to lure her back to Freddy so that she can possess her, kind of thing. So I'm trying to fit like a lot of the books, the events of the books, and all that into the timeline as much as I can, because they make sense that way, and it basically adds more questions and just lets more theories be made from it. So yeah, FNAF 1 happens. Fetch was made during FNAF 1's location, but when the originals had their new design, were performing. They had some popularity again until an accident happened where Foxy was put out of order, and that basically tarnished Fazbear Entertainment's work, and FNAF 1's location was closed after Mike Schmidt survived the nights and was basically fired on the 7th for odor and tampering animatronics. Since its closure, William Afton returns, dismantles the original 4, while Golden Freddy was nowhere to be found since he's in a Springlock suit. He's most like William doesn't know Golden Freddy was possessed, so he just placed Golden Freddy somewhere hidden away, which would lead to the new kid, between 1990s and the 2000s would be the new kid, where they go into a rundown Fazbear establishment and find Golden Freddy. I believe that would make sense, and why the FNAF 1 location would be somewhere within a forest. The place was abandoned, and then overgrown trees and whatnot turned the area around FNAF 1's location into a forest. The whole thing of FNAF 3's minigame happens where William gets spring-locked and all that. So I've added little notes as well to some of these just to help comfort what I believe is somewhat a more confirmed thing. And then I would say Sister Location was next, because I believe Michael Afton was changed his name to Mike Schmidt during this point, because he would be about his teens during the 1980s. So he would be. It makes sense. He would be in his adult age when he reaches FNAF 1, and he probably changed his name to be Mike Schmidt, just to try and distance himself from being known as the son of William of a murderer who killed children in Freddy Fazbear's. Because the game over thing is where you scoop, where you basically shoved into a suit. This basically makes it more. It basically adds it as a more suitable place, and Ennard scoops his Michael's innards out during I'd say the 2003, 2013, 10 or 20 years after FNAF 1 closes, location closes and all that. So I don't, for the bottom about saying he's had the goal to find his father, to set all of them raining animatronics free kind of thing. Basically, I would say he gained, since he found himself wasn't gonna die, and since his sister is now roaming free as Ennard and all that, he had this goal to find his father as well as the animatronics. He had the feeling he's his father, because he has seen his father in in years now, so he's assuming dead, but he's feeling that his father is still alive somehow, and he's gonna find his father, and then try and set all the animatronics free and all that, which would lead to like 2023 of Fazbear Frights with Springtrap and the Phantoms. Yeah. Basically, there's nothing really much to say about FNAF 3 at this point, because everything we've read is just known at this point. Where we had Michael be the... Although I had where Michael is basically the night guard for the entire week. The fire happens, the Phantoms aren't seen again after the FNAF 3 fire. I had it where Ultimate Custom Night does happen, but it's not like an actual animatronic location where the Phantoms that are actually just seen as like supposed possible like distractions, because they're just little pawns in Ultimate Custom Night. While we go to like for Pizzeria Simulator onwards, I don't know what specific time period they would be in, but I know but it's obvious that it happened after FNAF 3. So went with like the events play out as they do in Pizzeria Simulator. But yeah, not much really to say about Pizzeria Simulator because everything's all there for us to read and to put a great theory on together, which then leads to Ultimate Custom Night, where William's either in his hell. Either like some theorize he's recovering in hospital, while Ultimate Custom Night's happening in his mind. We're basing it on the man in room 1280 story in Fazbear Frights book. It is possible, but for me, I say he is in purgatory. While the events of Help Wanted and Special Delivery begins Fazbear Entertainment's brings FNAF into a new era. They hired developers to make a VR game of FNAF, and they hired a group to make animatronics for this augmented reality. For me, I said the CPUs on the animatronics, because I find it easier to say that. I think it was like a circuit board, wasn't it? They'd give out, they scan them and put the animatronics in. And I say why, and the reason Golden Freddy was never found is because I believe Fazbear Entertainment kept Golden Freddy hidden away until this point in time, where Golden Freddy ends up in FNAF Special Delivery, because Golden Freddy is there with his own CPU and all that. So basically, it makes sense as to why he's been thinking all that. It doesn't answer the fact that most of the other animatronics are here, like Springtrap, Circus Baby. How did they get their circuit boards and all that? They probably feel like someone one of the workers of Fazbear Frights found Springtrap and probably took I forgot what it's called that again now. Circuit board. I feel like they took Springtrap circuit board before William Afton took possession. Before like possessing started in FNAF in Night 2. So made copies. Well, they probably just gave it to both companies so that VR would scan it and then use it, and then then the FNAF 8 Special Delivery would get the same treatment, I think. But you scan the circuit boards. Basically added the AIs and all the animatronics in, but the designs were a bit thingy, so they probably redesigned them to somewhat fit, loosely based on their original designs, kind of thing. Which is why Springtrap looks so different in AR and VR compared to his original design. Golden Freddy obviously is AR, which is why he wasn't added to FNAF Help Wanted. Glitch Trap would then appear in Help Wanted as a hacked virus, a hacked code, Vanny Vanessa would be the beta tester, hence her mask and the Red Bear corn maze. Glitch Trap mind controls her to do his bidding in an attempt to get him free back into the real world, back into his world. And for those who, and I know people are gonna hate me for this, because I've included FNAF World, Freddy in Space 2, Security Breach, Furious Rage, the book trilogy, the logbook, the Freddy files, and the Fazbear Fight books at this point, because I believe that's how it would have worked. Like, these would have correlated with VR and AR, although that these two basically, although this part is just basically the alternate, most of this is just the Furious Rage, Freddy Space 2, FNAF World, and the book trilogy are an alternate, like an alternate reality, or alternate realities kind of thing, like alternate dimension. With FNAF World being the obvious one, being alternate dimension where all the animatronics are more cute, friendly, and that lot. And they defeat Cheeky's Magic Rainbow, find out about Circus Baby. Freddy Space 2 is like an alternate version of FNAF World kind of thing, where you got. Hence why, well, like basically like, this is somewhat the same, but alternate, because Freddy in Space appears as a playable mini game in FNAF World's update 2, in order to get Jacko, Bonnie, Coffee, and Purple Guy. We play as Freddy, who has a space helmet on. You get cupcakes and art. So I placed it here as well, like alternate reality of FNAF World. Where it's just Freddy, Bonnie, Chico, Foxy, the puppet, and Golden Freddy are here. Yeah, because Fredbear exists in both of these worlds. Whether people like it or not. And then you got Lol's Hacks and Freddy's son, who has you're the one that who's Freddy's son called. Because we've got all of these names, but then you just got Freddy's son. He has no name. Yeah, really that way. Yeah, it's basically like Freddy in Space. Basic in FNAF World's update 2. I mean, in update 2 of FNAF World, basically just links into Freddy in Space 2, where like Freddy was on his way back after the events of Freddy in Space, the original Freddy in Space. It makes it more easier. How do you think that image of Roxanne, the teaser image of Freddy with Roxanne Wolf came about? The space version of Roxanne Wolf being there, like they were on like a rock planet or that. I think that's where Roxanne Wolf was being based. Hence why we don't really see her in Freddy in Space 2 much, apart from that one image. And then I went ahead and went with the original book trilogy would take place in an alternate, like another parallel world universe kind of thing, where FNAF 1 location was built over with a shopping mall built over it. Dave Miller is being basically some events after 1983 happened kind of thing. So basically it happens a lot. It plays out as a FNAF World, Freddy Space 2, and the book trilogy plays out as normal. Then we got where basically Security Breach was the Pizzaplex starts getting built and everyone hears about it. Fazbear Entertainment chooses to hype its construction up by having someone build, try and create a game called, like a fighting game called Security Breach or something like that. But they would make them back up on the village. Whilst it was made, the Glam Rocks as well as Vanny end up becoming like a parallel world universe as well as like these lot. They basically get their own parallel universe where they become as they are here, where they basically fight and not really street fights and not lot out on the outside, on the indoors. And you got I forgot this guy thing is here, the Dream Guy, I think it was. Basically, these Furious Rage exists as its alternate world. Phasma Fright books were made by an unknown publisher in this universe, in this world of FNAF. Some of these events basically were just made up, were most likely made up kind of thing. But it's like the Ella doll could have possibly just been made. Could have been made based on some fact that someone. I feel like the books that were made that we all get, I feel like they could have just been. They were also made in the FNAF world, in the FNAF universe, just to tell loose things like they make the as of the events of FNAF VR, all the events that have happened so far are just turned into games as well, just so that Phasma Entertainment can make profit from people playing them, kind of thing. And then you got the books as well, so basically all the books. Because yes, Scott Cawthon doesn't exist in this FNAF universe. Because yeah, he made the universe and he has said that he is not the rogue developer who made these games. Basically, that rogue developer made the FNAF games. They got a publisher who they hired someone to make the FNAF books. They managed to get Michael's security logbook, and they just made like copies of it. The same thing what they did when they published all the FNAF books. They just made a copy of Michael's security logbook and just published that as well. Because imagine the Freddy Files was just made based loosely on the events of the games, and what we see as games, and what they either see as the actual events which were turned into games, laughed at and turned into games. And then we reached Security Breach. Nothing really much has shown up for it yet, but this is what I just basically put down for it until the actual game comes out. About months or so will have went by since the piece of plex was built and opened up. So it would have taken some time just for it to be built, and after I'll say months happened after the construction was complete and the grand opening happened. Just to help make things feel settled down a lot. Where they have chocolate. The new animatronics basically were just tremendous hit, and they started to get their own merchandising as well. Whilst since the piece recently that they wouldn't have official merch canonically in the FNAF timeline until about when the games themselves were made in the FNAF universe. Basically, FNAF universe basically had made its own universe into a game of itself. That's what I'm seeing of it. Is basically basically the story of Phasma Entertainment and all these and all this about. They're just wanting to just hide all these negative events under the rug. To make it where everyone had forgotten about the legacy that William Afton left, obviously because he don't exist anymore. They all think he doesn't exist anymore because he's dead and all that. Glitch Trap, because William is Glitch Trap, because Glitch Trap was like a hacked code based on who came in through Springtrap. That's how is it since William Afton's soul was partially attached to Springtrap's coding and all that. So basically, part of William Afton ended up within FNAF Wanted, and he's possibly ended up in security, in special delivery. We just don't know it just yet. He probably has, but we'll have to wait and see. I know it doesn't answer about the Shadow animatronics like Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie. Because Shadow Bonnie does show up in FNAF Special Delivery as a Shadow animatronic. And has been seen as reference Easter eggs in FNAF, Easter egg in FNAF 2 with Shadow Freddy. So I know I haven't explained those, but so I would see them as like part of. They were like the first unintentional deaths that fell to the spring-lock suits of like a Freddy and Bonnie, of a prototype Freddy suit and Bonnie suit. Yeah, the past Spring Bonnie suit was glitch trap, and then after that they tried the actual spring-lock suits for the first time. The first two workers perished and became Shadow Freddy. Oh, that wouldn't make sense. I feel like Golden Freddy. Okay, I feel like yeah, Kelsey would become Shadow Freddy. So it's basically hard to describe Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie. You got Kelsey, Cassidy, and Evan, who all are all speculated to be Golden Freddy, Shadow Freddy kind of thing. People have Evan be Shadow Freddy, trying to make it fit in. But it is what it is. I feel like Shadow Freddy is basically a worker who died within the Golden Freddy suit first, and then became a shadowy reminder of what he died within, as his body was moved and Golden Freddy's suit was changed out, which was burnt or something like that. Which could have led to the shadowy appearance of Shadow Freddy. Whilst the Shadow Bonnie since he's based on a mix of Toy Bonnie and Spring Bonnie, I think due to Shadow Bonnie having more teeth than Toy Bonnie, I feel like they made a Toy Bonnie prototype, and a worker that was killed during the testing phases of the original Toy Bonnie, and then Shadow Bonnie ended up came into existence from the original Toy Bonnie design. All the events of Security Breach are going to happen at the very end of this timeline until a new FNAF game happens. And I basically explained my FNAF timeline through that. I do hope you all enjoyed this, and I do apologize deeply that I stuttered, stumbled, and all that throughout my speaking explanation of my FNAF timeline. Actually, I never rehearsed or anything. All I do is try and explain it as much as I can. Yeah, basically it starts at 50s, 60s up to like present day on. Basically like beyond present day in future. Yeah. I apologise. I'm still exhausted. Yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed. I'll most likely upload this onto my DeviantArt, so that if you want to download it, then you can do, and then something. Shout out to like Scott Cawthon for making Final Fantasy Freddy's What It Is. Shout out to Steel Wolf for making FNAF Help Wanted and the upcoming Security Breach. Shout out to Illumix for making FNAF Special Delivery, even if my account is no longer existing now because of views. Big shout out to everyone to the people that helped make the Phasma Fright stories, the Security Logbook, Freddy Files and the original FNAF trilogy. Yeah, you're all the bomb negative. I don't know if that's a word, I don't know. Yeah, that's all I have to say now. I'm gonna give you a quick glimpse of what the Fredbear Theory image was, because this is basically what I was gonna do before the timeline, but I felt it fell apart too fast, and I was trying to explain it. Just a summary of it is basically Fredbear. Basically, what I just talked about in this timeline about Fredbear and Golden Freddy being where Golden Freddy was built during 1983 in Freddy's pizzeria, while Fredbear was built within Fredbear's. Basically, they both might look the same, but it's because of their color and not the fact that it's not that they're the same animatronic. It clearly made Fredbear and Golden Freddy different colors here, with Fredbear being a darker tone, Golden Freddy's a lighter tone in Freddy in Space 2. Yeah, that'll be it from me now. I have been the Great Waluigi67. Hope you all enjoyed, and until next time, bye everyone. May the fudge be with yous.